Hey guys, it's Troy here, and as I'm sitting here recording, it's Fountain Pen Day. No, that's not the reason why I'm doing this video. It just so happens that, it's been almost a month since I've done a recording. It's been a kind of a crazy month in many ways. And my life is about to get a little crazier even because I'm going back to college here soon. And I don't know how much time that's really going to leave me to do stuff like this, but we'll find out. But I do have a pen I've been wanting to share with you guys for a long time. And the reason it's been for a long time is because I ordered this pen, according to the paperwork, back March the 2nd of this year. So it took from March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and now November. November the 2nd of this year is when I got this. So that's as I'm recording this yesterday. But it's something that has been on back order. So I reached out to a buddy of mine, and I see this guy at pen shows all the time. Really enjoy hanging out with Frank at Federalist Pens. He actually included this little bookmark kind of thing with the order that I placed. And Frank and I had been talking for a while about this particular pen, just because, hey, have you heard anything about the status of it? Nope. All right, so I'm going to show you not only this pen, but also some others in its class. And when I say in its class, I'm not necessarily talking about price point, but I'm talking about its function and how it operates, okay? So here it is, the Endless Creator fountain pen. It's been expected for a long time. I see vendors online on their social media showing these. I see online vendors like even Frank. It's on his website. And that's where I ordered this from. And I ordered like a bottle of ink and a pad of paper along with it because I wanted some new stuff to make it worth my while in a single order, in addition to the idea that there was an ink I wanted to try and I needed to stock up on paper. So there we are. But the Endless Creator. There is a reason why I just barely got this. At two different pen shows, I had been in contact with and talking to Luxury Brands of America, LBA, as they are affectionately called by people in the pen business, about the status of the Endless Creator. And I have heard a total of 3 different stories about Endless Pens and the Endless Creator. I saw people in other areas of the world get theirs shipped to them back in February of this year, and it was on pre-order here in the United States at the time that I ordered my pen. So in, like I said, March of this year, I went ahead and placed my order, paid for it then, kind of thing. And so in talking to various people, there were 3 possible explanations as to why it took this long to get this pen. One possible explanation that I have heard was that, well, hey, it was such great demand, it was greater than they expected, so it was backlogged on the production. Number 2 reason is what LBA told me twice, and that was that they discovered that they had a few quality control issues and a few problems with the Endless Creator, and they wanted to fix those and re-engineer a couple of things so that they wouldn't break or they wouldn't have issues. I don't know. I don't know how true that is. And the third explanation I've heard is that, well, they actually were produced and shipped and were just sitting for a long time at some docks because of dock worker shortage and strikes that were going on the west coast of the United States. So those are 3 different plausible or possible explanations I've heard. Well, it finally showed up. And matter of fact, I saw like Gold Spot Pens was saying that, doing a little video about the Creator. And they said, here it is and in stock. So wait a minute. On Instagram, I said, so are you telling me LBA has finally shipped them and they're available? Because I've got one on back order I've been waiting on. And all they said was, yes. Well, good. So I turned around and said, hey, Frank, other distributors are saying that they've got theirs in. He said, "Yep, you're right. I just got them in like today, and I'll ship yours out tomorrow." And here it is. It only took a couple of days to get to me from Frank at Federalist Pens. FederalistPens.com. I think also FederalistPensOnline.com. And you can see Frank at all major pen shows. I see him all the time at the Raleigh, the DC show, and St. Louis. So I'm out there. So keep a lookout for my buddy Frank and his brother, and sometimes even his dad. All right, so along with that, I also ordered some ink. I was kind of looking forward to, Andarillium inks. I've seen them around. They're a fairly new ink company. Been out a couple of years now, but I've tried some of their inks. And at pen shows, they actually have a little table usually set up where you can try some of their stuff. But I ordered this particular ink. As you can see, it is a stork bill? Stork bill. No, shoe bill stork gray. A lot of their inks are named after sea creatures, but this happens to be a dark gray. So I wanted to try it, and I'll do an ink swab or swatch of that and put that in my collection. Frank tossed in this right here, a little storyboard book from Endless Pens, and it's a dot grid, small pocket notebook. So thanks, Frank. Didn't expect that. Appreciate that. The other thing that I ordered was a pad of Clairefontaine paper. The Triomphe. Clairefontaine is my favorite brand of paper. I've got some Clairefontaine right up here behind me here. You can probably see right up in here in several different forms. But I had this in like a smaller A5 size. And my son was using it to try to write some letters, and he asked if he could just keep that pad. So I said, okay. So I ordered the A4 size, which is more my personal preferred size for writing letters. All right, so that was my pen mail along with the Endless Creator. So I will show you this pen, but right here, let me read to you a little bit about what it says. The 3 words encapsulate Creator. Sleek, modern, familiar. A retractable fountain pen designed to let your mind's thoughts flow onto the paper instantly. Crafted to give you the power to enable and create seamlessly, the Creator is customized with an elegant sealing mechanism that your nib doesn't dry out. We've kept the modern workspace in mind while designing the Creator's sleek design, also perfect for the multitasker. It can be used and operated with just a one-handed click. All right, so it's still here in the box. It is made in India, by the way. In case anybody was wondering, it's not made in China. It is made in India. So there's the box, what it looks like on the outside, and I read right off from the back of that right there. So let's go ahead and take the Endless Creator out of said box, set the box aside, and it comes in an industry standard type presentation box. So what are they going for? About 50 bucks. All right, and you get a full little presentation box like that, and you open it up, and you do have a booklet here that basically is just a fold-out diagram of what to do with it and how to use it. So, there you go. That's all there is to that. All right, so the other thing they include an ink cartridge and the pen. So, let's go ahead and take it on out. I'm going to leave the ink cartridge in it and set that aside. Here is the Endless Creator. All right, you've got a clip. It's kind of a hexagonal plastic, and it comes down, a step down for that, and then a step down to where you would click, and you've got this little design right there, which I don't know if that's supposed to be an ink window or not, because I haven't even filled it up yet. I just wanted to pull this one out and play with it and show it to you, because I'm looking forward to making this thing happen. Now, let's go ahead and look at that right there. Can you see that? I'll give you a better view of it later on, but there is a little trap door there. So that is the sealing mechanism. Did you notice something else just now, though? Out, in. What am I missing here? I'm missing the click. All right, well, here's another retractable pen. No noticeable click. So there you go. Black plastic, hexagonal plastic with a clip. You've got that nice little angle there where the nib protrudes out the trap door. And I'll show you more about this momentarily. Alright, so retractable fountain pens seem to be a popular thing. As a matter of fact, I even had a former schoolmate of mine that I grew up with reach out to me several months back and ask me for a recommendation because I had just done a video on this one right here online, and I gave him my recommendation about several of these here and what I would do if it was me purchasing from scratch. And I told him I can't tell him about this one because I don't know anything about it yet. Well, I've got it now, so I know how it feels and how to play with it. So here, for capless or retractable pens, I've got two Pilot capless, or as they like to call it, vanishing point. The Platinum Curidas, C-U-R-I-D-A-S. I've done a video on that, and I really like the new Curidas models that have come out that have like a matte finish. They're really good looking, and the Curidas is a decent pen. You know, I think probably your top quality is going to be here, and then the Platinum's not bad for what it is. It's still, you know, $90 for this particular pen. This is $50. This one here is one that I got here just recently, and it's in Owasso, and I have not done a video on it yet. My friend Chris Rapp has done a video on this, though. You might want to go look at Chris Rapp 45's channel and see his review of the Owasso. And I've got, I was planning on doing a video on that. And then this is the one that you know, is like $7 or less online, advertised heavily on social media, that I did a video on it. So I showed you a little bit about the retracting mechanism here. So let's go ahead and show you. See that little trap door right there, and how it's just a little plastic fold down door. Well, let's look how the Owasso does it. Theirs is a little bit different. Hopefully I can get you a good shot of that. Theirs is more of just a membrane, just like a little membrane, and it separates that membrane when that nib is protruding. This one here, to me, was, you know, it wrote great, it wrote fine, and I've gotten more questions and comments on this particular pen than most any other video that I've done. A couple of reasons. Number one, you know, there is no seal on that right there. Absolutely no seal on it. So you have to have the cap. It is not a capless. The vanishing point concept is there only in that it retracts. So it is a retractable pen. And the other thing is it relies heavily upon the use of resistance. And this is going to become important when I talk about the Endless Creator here. But you see that converter that's in here? You're going to need something like that converter because it relies heavily upon when you press down that button, it's going to push down on that converter, and that converter is what's going to push forward that nib. Well, they were also selling these with ink cartridges to try to get some extra money out of you, and those cartridges only stick out to about here, so you've got at least that much more space you need to fill up with some kind of resistance, and they didn't give you anything to go in there and help with that, on that resistance. So I get asked about that all the time. How do you get these cartridges in here? How do I fit them in? And why doesn't it work? Well, it's because it was meant to be used with a converter, not with a cartridge. But I'll try to put a link to that video as well. Looking at the Platinum Curidas. This should look familiar if you remember the Endless Creator. See that little trap door? Right like that. Although the whole mechanism comes out and that whole trap door actually moves forward as well as one mechanism. See here, because it's there. You see that a little bit better that way since I got the translucent model rather than the nice new, and I think the newer ones are actually prettier than this, but I do like the blue here, the translucent blue, but that's how much that comes out by comparison. It's a pretty long throw on that. And then of course you've got here the old faithful Pilot vanishing point. This is the first vanishing point that I owned, and I've had several over the years. I've had one in red. I think we gave that one away to somebody, and I've got this one here in blue that is my most recent purchase by Pilot, but this one has like another little trap door kind of concept. So anyway, those are retractable pens in their actions, and I wanted to show you that about this so you can understand how it works. But also, I especially wanted to show you this because I'm about to tear this one apart and show you the mechanism and how to fill it and show you how it works. So when you first pick up the Endless Creator, it's not a heavy pen, but it does have some substantive weight to it. One of the neat things about it, you're going to end up holding it just like the Vanishing Point. So if you don't like the Vanishing Point with this clip here, you're going to end up pretty much with the same idea. It's really hard to hold it that far down in just this little area for the nib where it extends and retracts. If you like clips, a good serviceable clip, then I think you'll enjoy that. But I like the black and silver. I think that looks decent. It's got some good lines to it, I think. It's an interesting looking pen, and it's something you can use for business or casual. So let's go ahead and open it. So you do twist here and open that up. And by the way, this is the button you press in, and it doesn't have the resistance there now, so that button's going to kind of be in, but once we put it back together, that'll extend back out. So here is where we're at. This uses the same action I just showed you on the other one to extend that nib. Alright, this is nothing more than a protective cover over either where you would put the ink cartridge or whether you have the converter. I have the converter in it right now. This part just comes right out and pulls right off, and that's actually, it's still connected to the nib part or the nib holder, and it just goes right in here. You can see it's got that metal construction here and here both for metal threads. And this particular cover pulls right off. Alright, that's nothing more than just like a little aluminum cap. And it's part of the engineering because of two things. If you have, and I'm going to pull this right out, this little converter, I'm going to pull that out. If you have an ink cartridge in here, that cartridge is going to go down in and it's only going to come out to, let's say, around here. And you're not going to have that throw long enough in order for that actuation. So you would want to have this over it. And the same thing for the converter. Here's the converter that they include. It's not like a screw jack. This is a push-pull. So just like that. It's a little rod, push rod for the piston. Not a tremendously huge ink capacity, but you draw. It's the draw filter, so you would do that to fill up your pen. So obviously you don't want this click mechanism to depend upon the action of touching the back of this converter, because unlike that other one I showed you, where that converter at the end is not going anywhere, because it was a slide converter, sort of like this one, only that you had a casing around that slide. This one here, there is no such mechanism or protective guard on it, so you're going to need a protective guard to go over the top of it like that, so that when you go to press that button, it doesn't squirt ink coming out of the end of the pen. So let's put this baby back together and let's go ahead and fill it up and let's see how it writes. Alright, like I said, let's go ahead and put this baby back together. And this comes right in here. This should be a standard international converter. Should be just friction fit, just like that. Now this only comes in a fine point. That's all it was being offered in, is fine. You know, I wish, that's one thing I wish I could have had, is more of a choice as to what kind of nib to put on it. But as you can see, like I was expressing earlier, this comes right over the top, just like that, and fits tight. So, but let's pull that off though. And let's go ahead and ink up some of this Anderillium Shoebill Stork Gray. So let's put that down. Let's go ahead and open up the ink, just like that. And let's push in this little converter, stick it in the ink, and let's draw somewhat slowly. Let's see if we got a good draw. Well, you know, it's alright. Let me see if I can do it again, because it's the first fill. So let's see if I can do it and get it better. There's a little better fill on that, I think, than I had last time. So let's go ahead and set this aside. Wipe off the excess. Let's go ahead and put the cover back on this thing. So we got the ink. Here's the arrow right there. It shows you the way it goes in. So let's go ahead and make sure that goes in just fine, the way it belongs. Take this, screw it back together, and yep, it's a good amount of twists to get that screwed together. Alright, and we are extended, and we are not extended, so we retract that back in. So let's go ahead and just do a quick little test. Test on endless. Alright, cool. So there we go. Our baby is now inked. She extends. She does not click. And that's how much it extends. Compare that to the Platinum Curados, about how far that really came out. So let's go ahead and get the our pad of my Triomphe by Clairefontaine. And this will be my first try on this kind of paper in quite a while, because like I said, my son had taken it away from me, or I'd let him have it, but anyway. So this is the Endless Creator. It has a fine nib, and you can really tell that that is a fine nib when you're writing with this. I mean, when you look at how this compares to what I had written a little earlier with that small pad, this really shows up very fine. And it's fairly light, because this is not as dark a gray ink as I was kind of hoping it would be, but still, you can see the difference on the different kind of paper. That on this paper it definitely writes a little wetter than it does on the Clairefontaine. So this is a retractable nib. Just a little more pressure, I can get a little darker line, but definitely not a whole lot of line variation. I wouldn't expect that, by the way, especially since you have a very short throw of nib out, and then it's going to be a, an old steel nib. You're going to hear a little bit of feedback. You're going to get not the smoothest writing experience in the world. It's definitely acceptable. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this pen and how it's writing. It's all according to your personal taste. I'm not a fine nib lover, but this here to me is very acceptable. So I really don't mind this nib. I could work with this. I could work with this nib all day, as a matter of fact. The ink I told you about was an Andorilium, and that was the Shoebill Stork Gray. And they spell their gray with an E rather than an A, so I've got no problem with either spelling. Sometimes, yeah, I'll use one or I'll use the other, depending upon how I feel that day. So anyway, is this worth the 50 bucks? Well, when you consider how much you would pay for a retractable fountain pen on social media, and you get it for like $7, this, in terms of quality, is a lot better built pen. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that this is probably going to last you a whole lot longer. The other thing about the online advertised pen is that you have to have a cap on the end, so it's not a capless. Whereas this one does have, you know, the capless right there, with having that little trap door open to keep your seal and to keep your pen from drying out. Which, if you look at other pens like the Curadas for about twice the price, or you look at, let's say, for 3 times the price, looking at a Pilot, then I would say for 50 bucks, I would say probably worth it. I like the idea that Endless has come up with something that is a viable alternative to pens much greater in price in its class. It's a little different. A lot of people don't like the hexagonal style. I don't mind it. I mean, I think it looks good. I think it's sleek. I think it's stylish. I think it's a professional looking pen. You've got, you know, the plastic compared to when you're talking about the Pilot, you're talking about a lacquered metal kind of construction. The Curadas is all plastic, and on those earlier Curadas pens, like the one that I had out of their first run, you can tell that it looks a little cheaper. I like how the matte finish on them right now. They look and feel a whole lot better in the hand on the Curadas, but like I said, they're still 90 to 100, and depending upon where you buy it, you know, more than $100. So the Endless Creator at 50 bucks, yeah, I can be on board with that. I can see where this would actually be a really good addition to anybody's collection. I can see where I'm going to get a lot of use out of that. The Oaso pen, I've been using this an awful lot. So I can tell you, by the time I do a video on this, I'm actually going to have a lot more use and experience out of it than I'm showing you on this video, because I just now filled it for the first time. You watched it happen. And there was a reason why I did that, because I wanted to get this video out, you know, fairly quickly. But also, I wanted to show you, as I got a chance to see the Endless Creator, because there's been so much time that's elapsed that it's actually from when it's actually been made available to the rest of the world, and then for us not having availability of it for so long thereafter, I had to wait 8+ months in order to get it. So if in case you are now interested, these are now available. Federalistpens.com is where I got mine. I recommend you talking to Frank or you know, ordering from Frank. Even though his website right now does still say pre-order, Frank, you need to change that. But I think you'll be happy with this. So if you're looking for a retractable at a decent price point, at decent quality compared to some of the others, yeah, I'd say the Endless Creator is probably worth your 50 bucks.